What is up, guys? Man here with another episode of Modern Meta Breakdown. This time, we're going to be talking about Grixis Death Shadow. I pulled the list up early just so we can just get into it, right? Death Shadow's been one that's been around for a while, just like Jund, just like Tron, just like some of these other lists, but it has kind of changed, and people have been trying to optimize it and find better ways to go about it. People were trying Esper for a little bit, and now we're going to be talking about 3 different versions. But really, you have to be playing Black, Red, X at this point. You have to be having those at least 2 colors because of the creatures that are in it, because of the spells that are available, that you need to have access to Trample is really the best way to put it. If you're not running Trample, then you shouldn't be playing Death Shadow. I found that out when I tried out the Esper list, and it felt pretty good up to a point. And then it was just like, I miss being able to just like OTK somebody with Temur Battle Rage. And so people have been adjusting, and it went away from Esper back to Mardu. Now we're at Grixis, Mardu, and Jund Shadow. So those will be the 3 that we'll be highlighting. We started with Grixis because it's the most consistent one that has not fallen out of favor, really. There's always been a Grixis Shadow because of the power of it, right? Let's talk about the creatures. Of course, highlighting Death Shadow. It's a 13/13 that gets -X, where X is your life total. So the objective of this deck is to kill yourself. Strip your life total away, fetching, shocking, right, thought seizing, any way you can to lose life to make it easier for you to be able to cast a really big Death Shadow. That's the objective. On the back of that, because you're running Grixis, you have access to blue, and you get all this counter magic. So you do have things like Gurmag Angler as another be able to have a threat in here. Snapcaster Mage, everybody knows Snapcaster. Hey, being able to cast spells from your graveyard seems really good. And then, of course, you've got Jace Vryn's Prodigy, another one of those. Cast spells from your graveyard. You get that loot ability. Works out really nice. Street Wraith, lose life, draw a card. Everybody knows it, right? So, spells-wise are similar to Jund in that regard of disruption, removal, and in the instance of the fact that we're on Grixis, drawing spells, countering spells. That's kind of where we're at, right? So that's our kind of a 4 plethora of spells. Disruption, Thoughtseize, Inquisition. Jund, you see kind of the numbers are often reversed. More Inquisitions, less Thoughtseize, but hey, we're trying to kill our own life, so why not run more Thoughtseize? Drawing spells, Thought Scour's in here. We've got our Mishra's Bauble in here. Some lists adjust, some run maybe a Serum here and there, stuff like that. It's kind of changed, ebb and flow. This list is running Opt, just kind of that speed of being able to draw cards. Then we've got kind of our counter spells. Stubborn Denial is in this one here. And then we've got, don't look at that. Don't look at the sideboard. Stubborn Denial, and then we've got our newest one. If I can click on it. Bam! Drown in the Lodge. So, this is one of our blue and black. You get to choose one. You can either use it as a removal spell or as a counter spell. First set of text, counter target spell with converted mana cost equal to or less than the number of cards in that controller's graveyard. So if you are playing a little bit more of a counter spell, Inquisition, Thoughtseize, Disruption, I'm going to strip away your cards, I'm going to counter your stuff, you have a way to be able to just say, well, you have a bunch of stuff in your graveyard. And it's modern, so you're probably fetching, so you do have cards in your graveyard anyway, so I can just counter something. But you can also just kill something outright. And with Urza and other stuff running around, being able to just kill an Urza seems pretty relevant right now. So another reason to be running Grixis, you do have access to those counter magic. Dismember, again, kind of on that removal train. Fatal Push is in here. Drown Launch also kind of goes with that. Kolaghan's Command, another reason to be running red right now. The Artifact Hate is really good. Discard, returning a creature. All of the modes are super relevant on this card. Lightning Bolt is in here, but really the main reason to run red, besides Kolaghan's Command, is Temur Battle Rage, which You'll see it across the board. That's the ability to be able to get double strike and trample. That kind of, hey, here's my big guy. I have a way to kill you now. That one turn kill potential is what makes this deck last and stick around. Sideboard is kind of a tiered side list of just kind of what is best at the time. I'm not going to spend as much time on the sideboards because there's 3 lists that we want to talk about. But because it's Grixis, you do get access to a lot of those counter spells that other lists are not going to be running. So Disdainful Stroke is in here, more Colgan's Command. Stubborn Denial, which you notice there are not as many in the main board anymore. We're only running 3 this time around, so we can be able to put 1 in here because we do have that Dread on the Launch now. Some lists were running 4 at one point, but now that we have this flex removal / counter spell, it seems really good. You could also kind of slow it up. Jace is in here as well. Royal Scions people are trying out. I like it because you're trying to also have access to like Gurmag Angler, but the other relevantness in this is the +1 to give a creature +2/+0 first strike and trample. That trample is super relevant in these sort of lists, so do not scoff at that card just yet. So pretty good for this Grixis list. Let's hop over and talk about them there Mardu, shall we? And already I've got our first addition here. Hex Parasite. Why is this card in here? People are wondering. What does this card even do? So if you're familiar with Spellskite and you know that you can pay Phyrexian Life or a blue mana, in this instance you can be able to pay Phyrexian or Swamp here. So 2 life or Swamp to remove up to X counters from target permanent. For each counter removed this way, Hex Parasite gets +1/+0 until the end of the turn. Seems pretty good. So you can, in the off chance that you need to, get rid of permanents or counters from Planeswalkers. But really the reason it's in here is that you can essentially Spellskite yourself. And I'm going to just pay 2 life to remove counter, pay 2 life, remove counter, pay 2 life, remove counter. I'm removing 0 counters, right? Because my X is going to be 0. But I'm just paying 2 life, so I'm down to 1 life, and now my lovely Death Shadow is a 12/12. And I can come and get you. Hope that's okay. So that's why Hex Parasite is in here. We also have access to our Tidehollow Scholar, which, if you're familiar with any of the Death and Taxes lists, they used to run this in here. It's basically another way to disrupt your opponent. If you're playing against a lot of combo stuff, Mardu might be the way to go because you do get access to more disruption from the hand. You get to pick a non-land card from your opponent's hand and exile it until Tidehollow Scholar leaves the battlefield. So again, having more disruption is kind of one of those meta-dependent cards. Ranger, Captain of Eos. Another good reason if to want to run white is because you get this 3 mana, 3/3 creature that lets you be able to find your Death Shadow. Also lets you be able to get Hex Parasite as well because he costs 1. But lets you be able to search your library for a creature card when converted mana costs 1 or less, and you get to add it to your hand. You can also sacrifice our Ranger, and your opponent can't cast non-creature spells this turn. So you can be like, well, I know I have Temur Battle Rage, and I want to be able to kill you. So I'm going to sack my Ranger, and now you cannot cast any non-creature spells. Hope you have enough to block my 12/12 trampling double striked creature. No? Okay, you're dead. So Ranger really relevant. Having the ability to search and tutor up your Death Shadow, really important. You don't need it as much in the Grixis list because you have access to those counter spells, more draw spells, and you can kind of get there. The other thing that some lists are running, Unearth, is now getting into the mix, which kind of being able to bring a creature back seems pretty good. Return target creature card with a converted mana cost 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. So hey, pretty much all the creatures in here except for Gurmag Angler cost 3 or less. So that is part of the reasons why we're running less Gurmag Anglers. We only got 1 in this list. Everything else is going to be costing 1, 2, or 3. Street Wraith doesn't count. That's just a draw spell. Ignore that. So, Unearth in here. You can also cycle it if you really need to. Again, we're at that Thoughtseize Inquisition. This deck is all about disruption, though, right? 7 1-cost disruption spells, plus we've got Tidehollow Scholar. Again, the reason to run red, Temur Battle Rage, Kulgun's Command. Those are the reasons to run red right now. We've also got Angrath's Rampage. It's a really sweet addition of that kind of utility cards. Sack an artifact, sack a creature, or sack a planeswalker. You pick one of those, and your opponent has to do one of those. So that flexibility is actually really, really relevant here, especially when you're picking off and choosing what you're killing, and then being able to just be like, all right, you have 1 creature left. Hope you don't want that. Reason to want to run white or Mardu, Path to Exile. That's a great card. Being able to just get out of here seems pretty relevant. The rest of the list looks pretty stock. Again, you get access to white, so you get things like Gideon to be able to come into your board. Kaya's in your board as well. More Path to Exiles. Got the Wear and Tear in here. So, like, you do get access. Ashiok, she's going to start showing up all over the place, guys. Keep your eyes open. So, you kind of have to decide, do I want more disruption? Do I want the ability to tutor for my creatures? Yes or no? If you want that, then going the Mardu route might be for you. And if you're like, well, is there any more tutoring that I can do? I want more than just my Ranger. Let's talk about the Jund list. All right. Looking pretty similar. Death Shadow's in here. Street Wraith. Tarmogoyf. Looks pretty Jundy, minus the Death Shadow. Liliana the Veil's even in here, so looking pretty normal. The other thing is, we get access to red, so you know what that means. We get some additional ability to trample. You could cast it outright if you're in this weird matchup where now you've lost everything and everything's gone, and you're like, well, I just have this Gore Clan Rampager, I guess I'll pay 4 for a 4/4 trample. Really, it's just you pay 2 and you give your Death Shadow +4/+4 and trample. Or your Tarmogoyf +4/+4 and trample, wherever you're at in that sort of situation. So that's why people are running it, is that additional burst. Hey, can I finish you off? You know, people have done that many times where they'll say, okay, here's my Gurmag Angler and my Death Shadow. Which one are you blocking? Okay, well, I'll just Temur Battle Rage the other one, and now you'll take at least 10. Enjoy. So this is kind of that additional, right? Another way to kind of help out. Besides that, we've got our normal Temur Battle Rages in here. Pretty good. Everyone's familiar with that. But let's talk about our 2 tutor type effects here. Ability to find creatures. Traverse the Ulamwald is the traditional one when people were just starting to tweak and adjust their Death Shadow list, and they were running like Abzan, and they were running these different Jund lists and trying to figure it out because they're like, Traverse, guys, it's where it needs to be. Because that Delirium, if you have 4 more card types, which should be easy, instant sorcerer, sorcery, land, artifact, creature, right? There's easy ways to be able to do it because you've got Mishra Bauble is there as another way to kind of get an artifact in there. You've got creatures because you should be cycling a Street Wraith. You're fetching, you're casting an instant, you're casting a sorcery. Easy stuff. So if there are 4 or more cards, you get to search your library for a creature or a land, put it to your hand. Once Upon a Time is our newest edition, which is going to start showing up in a lot more lists. Adjusting number-wise, people are testing out 2 right now for this because you can cast it for free. For 1. So if this is the first spell that you've cast this game, you can cast it without paying its mana cost. Look at the top 5 cards of your library. You can reveal a creature or a land card from among them and put it to your hand. The rest go at the bottom of your library in any order. So turn 1, you can cast this up. If you're sitting there and keeping a greedier hand because you're like, well, I have 1 land, but I have this Once Upon a Time in my hand. So I can just cast this and find that second land. So pretty relevant. Another way, if you're like, I really want to be able to tutor up more stuff, that's the way to go about doing it. Talked about it. You're running red. You should be running Kolgun's Command. Fatal Push is in here. Dismember. You do get access to Assassin's Trophy because you're running Jund, so a little bit more to kind of keep track of. This list is also running a Tarfire. Again, we're running red. The reason it is running Tarfire is kind of, hey, it goes with Traverse. It also goes with Tarmogoyf. Because it is a tribal instant, it counts as an additional type. Fun fact. There you go. So you can do 2 damage to target creature or player. So hey, just 2 damage to a creature is relevant in Modern. It is also relevant of making your Tarmogoyf bigger. All right, you're used to being like, okay, let's see, we've got a creature, instant, sorcery, land. All right, he's a 4/5. Oh wait, you also have Tarfire. So now he's a 5/6. Oh wait, you also have an artifact. So he's a 6/7. Oh wait, there's also a Planeswalker. Oh my gosh. All right, so it keeps getting bigger, more value. So nice little addition. You'll see Jund players every now and again have tried it out and tested it out. So just a little bit of thing to note for all of you tribal players out there. Sideboard very similar to what we've been talking about. All right, this time it looks more Jund-like because of the collector, things like that. Fulminator Mage, Plague Engineer, Alpine Moon, Kolgan's Command. The Veil of Summer is really cool. I like that addition in here. Draw a card if your opponent casts a blue or black spell this turn. Spells you control can't be countered, and you and your permanents, not just you, but you and your permanents, gain hexproof from blue and black until end of turn. Very relevant when there's a lot of blue stuff running around. Very relevant when there's a lot of black removal spells running around. More Liliana, more collected. So it's kind of like I have a Jund style sideboard here to go along with the power of my just Death Shadow. So really you have to decide what style do you want to play. You also need to decide what's the meta like. Because if your shop is, hey, I've got more creatures and stuff like that, then maybe you need to be running more of that sort of removal package that is available, the kind of grindier matchup like the Jund Death Shadow, or if you are playing against a lot of control style decks, maybe going for the Grixis route so you can kind of do a little bit of control battling, or if you're playing combo against a lot of combo, they've got the Mardu list. So lots of different lists available, and it's nice to see that the Death Shadow has that flexibility that you can play any of these 3 lists at this point in time. But that is it for our Death Shadow list, guys. I hope you have been enjoying all of these Modern Meta Breakdown videos. Let me know if there's specific decks that you'd like me to talk about. I've been highlighting a lot of different ones that have been popping up in the meta lately. And as it goes, the meta shifts, ebbs and flows, and we have these adjustments. So make sure you're not having a sideboard that's super rigid. Adjust it, change it based on what your meta is and what the bigger metas are if you go to bigger events. But if you like this content, please consider hitting those followed, subscribes. Up in the corner up there, you can see links to all the information as well as down in the description below of the video. So thanks for tuning in and watching, guys, and I'll catch you guys next game.